today's lesson is on the definition of a fraction. As usual, there is a video guide to go along with this video. If you haven't printed it already, go ahead and pause the video, print the video guide, and then come back to the video because we're going to use that in our lesson today. So the first thing we want to talk about is what is a fraction. All right, most people hear the word fraction and they get a little nervous, they don't like fractions, so we're going to have a whole unit on fractions starting with the basics. So, what is a fraction? The technical definition for a fraction is a numerical quantity that is not a whole number. Now, whole numbers are what we're used to working with, and most of us are comfortable working with whole numbers. Whole numbers are just the basics. 1, 2, 3, 4, 500, 632, 1,428. All of those are whole numbers, okay? So a fraction is not a whole number. All right, the easiest way that I can think of for you to understand what a fraction is that it's just part of a whole. I think of it as sharing with someone. So if I have a candy bar and I'm sharing with a friend, I'll split it into 2 pieces. I take one of those pieces, my friend takes one of those pieces, so I have 1 out of 2 pieces. My part always goes at the top of our fraction. The whole is at the bottom. Okay, so the part of the candy bar that I got was 1 of the pieces. The whole would be the 2 individual pieces. When I put those together, that would make my whole candy bar. So I got 1/2 of the candy bar, part over the whole. Now another 2 terms actually that I want to talk about to make sure that you hear them, and when I use them, you'll know what they are. Part over the whole, there's the top number, the part, the bottom number is the whole. Those have specific names. All right, so the top number of a fraction is called the numerator. You're gonna hear me use that word a lot, okay? So the numerator is at the top. The bottom number is called the denominator. Okay, so this is the top of the fraction, the top number. Denominator is the bottom number. Okay, so the numerator is always the part, the denominator is always the whole. All right, so what we're going to do at this point is take a look at our video guide, and we're actually going to go through some of the examples together. For problem number 1, if we take a look at our picture here, we're going to just write a fraction to represent the picture. So we already know we have our fraction here. Now remember, for every fraction, we put the part over the whole. So the whole is just the total. How many pieces does it take to make the whole picture? So let's go ahead and count the total first. So if I take a look at my picture, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 pieces. If I put all 6 pieces together, I've got the whole picture. So my whole, the denominator, is 6. After that, I need to know the part. The part is the portion that's shaded in. The directions ask us to figure out the shaded area, the fraction of the shaded area. So if I look at my shaded area, I've got my numbers up here already. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces that are shaded. So 5 out of the 6 pieces are shaded. So that means the part is 5. So my fraction for number 1 is 5 out of 6, so 5/6. Okay, that would be our fraction for problem number 1. Again, 5 out of the total 6 pieces. Let's look at number 2. So our picture is here. First thing I'm going to do is figure out how many pieces do I have all together. What's my total? What's the whole? So here's our fraction. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. Okay, so it takes 4 pieces to make the whole circle. So 4 would be my whole. All 4 of them together make the whole amount. Now we need to know the part, the shaded area. All right, well, I've got shaded area here. There's 1 shaded area. Here's 2 shaded areas. So that would be 2. Only 2 out of my 4 parts are shaded. So my fraction is 2/4. So for number 2, we have 2/4, 2 out of the 4. All right, let's take a look at number 3. Again, we want to figure out the fraction part over the whole. So here's my fraction. The whole amount would be how many pieces are there all together. So let's go ahead and count. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pieces all together. It would take 9 of these strips to make the whole picture. So my whole amount is 9. After that, I want to figure out, okay, what part of this picture is shaded? So looking at my picture, we've already got our numbers here. We can count them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 of the pieces are shaded. So my fraction is going to be 8 out of 9 pieces total are shaded. So that would be 8/9 is our fraction for problem number 3. At this time, go ahead and pause the video, try problems 4 and 5, and then come back and check your answers with me. For problem number 4, we have our circle. The first thing I did was went around and I counted how many pieces do I have all together. There were 6 pieces that I numbered, so my whole amount is 6. It takes 6 pieces to make the whole circle. After that, I counted how many shaded pieces there were. Well, we only have 1 shaded piece here at the top, so my part was 1. 1 out of the 6 pieces is shaded, so our fraction is 1/6 for problem number 4. For problem number 5, the first thing I did again was count how many pieces there are total. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces total would make the whole circle. So 8 is my denominator. After that, I counted how many shaded pieces there were. So looking at our problem here, our picture, there's only 1 piece that is shaded. So my numerator is 1, that's the part. So there's 1 out of the 8 pieces are shaded for problem number 5, which would be 1/8. For problems 11 through 20, we're actually reversing the problem. All right, so they're going to give you the fraction. You need to shade the area that represents the fraction. So let's look at problem number 11. Our fraction is 6/8. All right, so they're already telling us that it takes 8 pieces to make up the picture, okay? Which if I count around, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces. Now, the fraction that's supposed to be shaded is the numerator, the top number. Remember, that's our part. So it takes 8 pieces to make up the whole. Our part is only 6. So I need to shade in 6 pieces of this picture. So let's count through and shade in 6. So here's 1, here's 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. These 2 pieces should be left unshaded because I'm only supposed to shade 6 out of the 8 pieces. So for number 11, this is what it would look like. Now, you don't have to have those exact same 6 pieces shaded. All right, if you shaded these 2 in but not these 2, that's fine. As long as 6 are shaded, 2 are not. It doesn't matter which 2 are shaded which 6 are shaded and which 2 are not. Let's look at number 12. Our fraction is 2/6. So they're telling me already that the whole amount is 6, which if I look at my picture, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces to make the whole picture. Now, 2 out of 6 means that our part is 2, so I should only shade in 2 of the 6 pieces. So let's go ahead and do that. Here's one piece, here's two pieces. 2 out of the 6, this is a picture to represent this fraction. Number 13, our fraction is 9/12. So if I count around, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. My whole amount is that denominator, 12. It takes 12 pieces to make this circle. Only 9 of them are supposed to be shaded. That's our part. Remember, part over the whole. So let's go through and shade 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pieces. So 9 out of the total 12 pieces should be shaded for number 13. At this point, go ahead and pause the video, try numbers 14 and 15, and then come back and check your answers with mine. For problem number 14, our whole amount was 9, our part was 5. That means 5 of my pieces needed to be shaded, 4 should remain unshaded. So my picture, I've done 5, 4 unshaded. Now again, if you shaded in a different 5, like maybe this top and left portion, and you left this bottom right portion, those 4 unshaded, that's fine. As long as you had 5 that were shaded, 4 that were unshaded, you would be correct for number 14. And then let's look at 15. Our fraction was 9/10. Our part was 9, our whole was 10, so it took 10 pieces to make the whole. And then the part being 9, that means I shaded in 9 different sections here to get my fraction of 9/10. So 9 should have been shaded, 1 should remain unshaded. To finish off our lesson on the definition of a fraction, we're going to look at some word problems. We're going to take these word problems and just write each situation into a fraction. So looking at the back of your worksheet, problem number 1 for writing fractions. Remember, we want to do part over the whole. So everything we're going to be writing, we're going to put the part in the numerator, the whole in the denominator. So let's look at number 1. It says 5 months is what fraction of a year? 5 months is what fraction of a year? So my total, my whole, is going to be a year. So the first thing we need to think of is, well, how many months does it take to make a full year? All right, so to make a full year, we would need 12 months. So 12 would be my whole amount, or 12 months in a year, so all 12 to make 1 year. Now the part. So reading through our question again, it says 5 months is what fraction of a year? 5 would be my part that we're talking about, so 5 is the numerator. So our fraction for number 1 would be 5/12. Let's look at problem number 2. It says 1 foot is what fraction of a yard? All right, so we have our fraction here. We're talking about a yard. So we need to know how many feet are in a yard. Well, there are 3 feet in 1 yard. So 3 feet equals the same thing as 1 yard. So that means my whole amount would be 3 because it takes 3 feet to make 1 yard. Now let's read our question again. It says 1 foot is what fraction of a yard? Well, 1 foot is all we're talking about, so that's our part. So 1 would go in the numerator. So our fraction would be 1/3. 1 foot is 1/3 of a yard. Okay? Let's go ahead and skip down to problem number 7. That's more like a story, so let's take a look at that together. And then I'll have you do a couple problems on your own. We'll do 7 and 8 together. It says, John wants to buy a shirt for $23. He has $18 right now. What fraction of the cost has he saved? So for problem number 7, we want the whole amount at the bottom, okay? So the whole would be the total cost. All right, so looking at our problem, it says John wants to buy a shirt for $23. That's the whole amount. He is going to have $23 to buy that shirt. So 23 goes in the denominator of the fraction. If we keep reading, it says he has $18 right now. That means that's how much he has going towards the shirt that he wants to buy. That's our part. So 18 goes at the top because it's asking for what fraction of the cost has he saved. Let's look at problem number 8. For problem number 8, it says Darlene wants to lose 15 pounds before spring break. She has already lost 11 pounds. What fraction of the weight does she still need to lose? All right, so the first thing we need to figure out is the whole amount. So how much does Darlene want to lose total? Okay, you can think of, when it says part over whole, you can also think of that as the part over the total. So how many total pounds does Darlene want to lose? If we look, she wants to lose 15 pounds. So 15 would be our denominator. Now if we keep reading, it says she has already lost 11 pounds. Now I'm going to write that off to the side because let's read that question a little bit closer. Okay, 11 pounds is what she has already gotten rid of. She's lost that amount. But the question asks, what fraction of weight does she still need to lose? She's already lost the 11 pounds. She doesn't need to lose 11 pounds. Okay, she's already lost that. So what we need to actually do in this case is take the total amount and subtract the 11. That means there are only 4 more pounds to go. She only needs to lose 4 more pounds. So my fraction is actually 4/15. All right, so make sure you read the questions closely. Sometimes they'll just want the fraction of what they're talking about. Other times they'll give you a number and see, did you read closely? Because we actually had to subtract it to get the 4 pounds that she still needs to lose, right? She lost the 11, she still needs to lose the 4, so our fraction would be 4/15. At this time, go ahead and pause the video, try problem numbers 3 and 9, okay? Problem number 3 and problem number 9. And then come back and we'll take a look at those together. Let's take a look at problem number 3. My fraction is 87 out of 100, so let's talk about why. For problem 3, they said 87 cents is what fraction of a dollar? So first we need to figure out our whole amount. So we needed to know how many cents does it take to make a dollar. Well, remember 1 penny is 1 cent, so it takes 100 pennies to make $1, so it's 100 cents makes a dollar. So 100 is our denominator. After that, we needed to know the part. Well, our question tells us 87 cents is our part, so 87 is our numerator. So 87 out of 100 should have been your answer for problem 3. Looking at problem number 9, all right, it talked about Bob. Bob's rent is $650 a month, and he has $500. What fraction of the rent does Bob still need to get? Okay, so read those questions closely. $650 is the total rent. That's how much he has to pay, so that's why that's in the denominator. $150. Now, 150 wasn't even a number in our problem, so we needed to read it closely and realize he has $500. That's not how much more he needs to pay his rent. That's how much he already has. So we took the total, we subtracted what he had, the $500, and that gave me the 150. That's where my fraction came in, 150 over 650, okay? So I had to subtract these two because I wanted to know how much more money does he need, okay? How much does he still need to get? The 150 out of the 650. All right, and that's the end of our lesson on the definition of a fraction.